Hi everybody, I'm Adele Levine and I'm an intuitive and medium. And on here I cover all things paranormal, spiritual, fringe, all that stuff that people like to talk about, the bumps in the night and the curiosity of the other side and all of it. And please subscribe and like and comment because I really love getting comments and questions. It helps other people feel like they're not alone and it helps me to help you. So let's get into the subject at hand, right? Shadow people. Yeah, this is a question that has come up many, many times. Now, over the years, it's come up, but is definitely, I've noticed a spike in the past, I would say, year. And even in the past 6 months, I have gotten a lot of questions about what are shadow people. I did a poll on Instagram and there was an overwhelming, like, should I do this subject? And it was an overwhelming yes. So let's get into it. There are different explanations for shadow people. I know that shadow people get a very, very bad connotation of being evil and dark and something bad. But you got to remember that a lot of the times when you can't see or understand something, especially when you don't understand something, when it's foreign and is not what you're accustomed to, we kind of as people tend to deem it as evil and bad. This is very, very common. Anything paranormal kind of goes into that range. And honestly, a lot of paranormal stuff is absolutely not evil and bad. It's just a little freaky, a little scary because it's breaking the rules of what we seem to have been told and understand. Now, shadow people, I'm not saying there aren't negative entities and negative energies. I know people get upset when I say that shadow people aren't as bad as you think, and it's what is going on isn't really exactly what you think. Like, people assume that this is something really bad and sinister, but I'm going to reveal another take on it. And this is my take on it. This is how I've come to understand it. You can completely disagree, but what I've been shown is the shadow over the people are spirits. They are spirits that are in your space. Most of the time, they are definitely not your friends and family. Let me explain why. There's a frequency that vibrates in that realm, and that frequency runs very fast. I've covered this on other YouTube posts on here, and the frequency, it runs very fast and it's very high. And so when your friends and family want you to know that they're around, but they don't want to scare you, they're very, very careful not to raise that frequency into full, more view for you to feel and see them. It's kind of, imagine like I can, be in a space and time with you, because spirits are in this realm with us constantly. They're not coming here. They're not traveling here. We tend to think of that realm very much, we kind of humanize it to this realm. And you got to kind of think outside the human realm, because it's not a physical body. That realm is not subject to the rules and bound to this world. Okay? So they're a frequency and their energy. Shadow people are usually going to be spirits that are roaming around in the space and really kind of don't have a consciousness or care, not to be like they're trying to scare you or be rude, about keeping their presence so quiet. So they may vibrate on a little higher frequency, meaning like letting you see them a little bit, whereas your friends and families go really, really out of their way to not scare you. And I hear this a lot in readings when I'm doing readings. Oh, I'm in your room, or I'm in your kid's room, my grandchild's room, or my niece's room. But I definitely try not to make my presence too known so that they are not scared. But energies that don't seem to care so much about that, and kind of like the idea of people seeing them, especially if you have a tendency to see a little bit more than the average person, and they know that because you send off a frequency of your own, they will, okay, I guess they'll see me. Now, it is also another term for that would be the veil. The veil isn't what people think. It isn't like an actual like curtain, something you have to break open. I hear this a lot, the veil is thin and all this kind of stuff. The veil is thinner at certain times, but I'll get into those type of posts too. The veil isn't thinner at certain times. It's just you are more aware and awake to it, and you're more aware of that realm, like Halloween, or when someone passes, or an anniversary of someone passes, or a special day. You are allowing yourself to break out of the bounds of this material realm and allowing yourself to see the other realm. So it's not like what you think. It's not like you know there are these evil beings that are trying to upset you and destroy you. It is you not having the capability to see completely past that veil, which is your state of consciousness. So in other words, I see things, and I see spirits, and I see beings, and if I see it, I know how to kind of put a little filter on it when I don't feel like seeing those things, and I know how to lift it. And if I'm lifting it, then I fully see them. If I don't, then they may look a little more shadowy. And that's because I'm choosing to, put a blind over them and put a curtain over them. And so is a state of consciousness. So yeah, I know it can be very alarming. I know it can feel a little creepy, obviously, but I don't want you to feel like this is the problem with the paranormal world, is that everything gets thrown into creepy and bad. And unfortunately, that makes me, unfortunately, I was going to say for everyone else, that, scares you off from looking more into it or being open to it. However, with that said, there is always two sides of the coin, the yin and the yang, the dark side, the light side. And it is true that there are entities that, are not coming from a place of just wanting to connect and just wanting you to know that they exist and just wanting to be a part of, this world and kind of letting people know they're part of this world. And they may come from a little bit, of a darker place. And so this is what I always say. I'm going to cover in a second about what to do if you're seeing these a lot, if you want to amp up what you see, or if you're like, no thank you, I do not want to amp up what I see, I want it to stop. So I'm going to cover that in a second. But I also want to address it. I hear a lot of people talk about the shadow people, pinning them down and creating sleep paralysis. Now I understand this, and I'm going to do a video on sleep paralysis, which I'll probably do a poll again on my Instagram. If you want to follow me on there, it's Adele Levine. On my social media is Adele Levine. If you want to, put your vote in. But I know a lot of people feel that, that feeling of like something's, they see a shadow person and they're like, I can't move. I get paralyzed and I feel like it's attacking me. Okay, two things. Yes, there are some that are trying to siphon your energy in a way, but, and you may not agree and may be surprised, but there are other spirits that most of the time, and I know this because I have had sleep paralysis. I had sleep paralysis for years of my life. Years and years since I was a child, and I had to deal with this. So I learned how to handle it. So I know what is happening. I've experienced it, is what I'm trying to say. But a lot of times it's spirits that are actually trying to help you come out of your body. Like they're trying to pull your spirit out, because what people don't understand is that when you have dreams of spirits, or when you feel like you've had an experience, you're not having it in this realm, you're having it in that realm. And to have it in that realm, you need to leave the body. Not leave it like people think, like you're literally emptying your body out and creating a shell, but it's a state of consciousness and an energy that is getting pulled out and going into that realm. And so a lot of times those spirits are trying to help you. They're trying to help lift your energy, raise your vibration. How do I know this? Well, I had sleep paralysis for many years, and I would see things and feel things, and I felt the same way, like something's trying to attack me, something is, pushing me down, and I definitely will cover a little bit about that. But then when I started to learn how to protect, and I learned how to put energy protection around me, and when I started not being so afraid and being looking at what was around me, I started to see. And I've had an experience where one time I actually said, to the energies I hear a lot and communicate with a lot, what I call them teachers, I said to them, I would like to see you. And I heard, are you sure? And I said, yes. And all of a sudden my body froze up like, I thought I was having a stroke. And all of a sudden I found myself crawling around the floor, but I was also feeling my body. And I was crawling around the floor, and I was trying to like turn the TV on, and the TV wouldn't turn on because I wanted, that person in the other room to hear me. And I saw these two beings. They were tall. Um, couldn't really make them out. They're kind of shadowed a little bit, but not like totally like when people see shadow people. I could see a little bit of their imagery, and I heard them say, she needs to learn. And I like tried to yell out for the other person in the room. I crawled into the other room. I saw them, turn over and, put their blanket over them and move away. And then all of a sudden I was back in my body, and I came back, and the person in the other room said they did hear me or see me, but they heard something say, leave her alone. She needs to learn, which is what I was hearing. So what I'm saying is I've seen those beings that people are seeing that are shadow, and they are trying to help. They're all, I know it's not feeling pleasant and not feeling good, but they're trying to help you come and lift that veil, which is a state of consciousness, and see them. So, at the time, I was really new at this when this experience happened to me. I was way, way in the beginning of this path. And so I wasn't well versed, and it freaked me out, but I also kind of thought it was really, really interesting. And over time and over the years, putting protection, putting guardianship, putting energy around me. I use gold light. I also use, incense and whatever else you use. And I also, call upon, Saint Michael and other things. And you can use what you need to use, that you believe in to create protection. Protection is key. Cleansing is key. But also making a statement. If you do not like this sort of thing and you're going, listen, I've seen these shadow people and I'm not interested, you can you need to be firm and say, get out, stop it, leave. I do not want this in my life. Get out of my room, get out of my house, get out of my life. You have to be very firm. You can use incense. If you're going to sage, I always say this, use incense after, because sage wipes everything out and incense brings everything back in. It kind of lifts the energy. So definitely create that space and those boundaries and those barriers. Believe it or not, there are spiritual laws, and one of them is that you set the rules and the standards of what's going on in your space. I'll get into in another video, do other spirits don't adhere to that, and sometimes people say I tried that and it's not listening. I understand that. That's when I've done house cleansings and I've had to come in, because if I'm a little more experienced, a little more well versed, and have a kind of like a stance in that world to really get those things to stop. But most of the time, when it's this type of thing that you're experiencing, where you're seeing shadow people, you can have control over it. And the reason why I say this is because it does kind of bother me a little bit that anytime it's anything paranormal or anything unusual, people kind of harp on the fear of it. It's like almost like people want it to be more scary. They want it to be bad. And you got to understand, to a child, okay, this is how that realm sees us. They see us as like children who are just not very well versed and not very well, not, I don't want to say grown up, but you know what I mean? They don't see us as like having an understanding of how things work. So, to them, they kind of see like, oh, if I'm just trying to communicate, or I'm just trying to create, something that you don't understand, and I'm moving around a little bit and it freaks you out and you immediately think it's bad. It's like, if a kid sees something and they don't understand it, and they, get really weirded out. There's like a puppet, or, those guys who walk around, like dress up like Elmo and those big things at Disneyland and stuff. People get, they get scared, or things like that. They don't understand. Or even if you see kids who've seen like the beach water for the first time, something's moving, they don't understand. And that's kind of what happens a lot. But I think what sells and what, makes it more interesting, it's almost like people kind of want to believe like, oh no, this is just definitely something bad. It's not always bad. It's scary, it's uncomfortable, you may not like it, but it is one of those things. And I know this from having, since a kid, having experiences I thought were really, really scary. And then when I learned to unmask them, when I learned to see them, when I learned to approach it, when I learned to understand it, I was like, okay, yes, there's things that are doing things for the wrong reasons. That's just like anything in life, right? That's like everything. There's the good part of it, and there can be the exploitative bad part of it. So if it's uncomfortable and you don't like it and it's making you uneasy, it doesn't matter if, even if the intention is positive, just tell it to stop, get rid of it, put a pin in it until you get comfortable with it. I even did that at points in my life. I'm like, listen, I kind of see these things and I'm not quite comfortable. And so I, left it alone. And then I started lifting those barriers. Okay, poking me isn't so bad. You guys can do that. I can get, I kind of allowed certain things to happen. I'm not saying you have to do all that, but, with the shadow people thing, if you're seeing energies and you don't like it. Now, there is another explanation that some people believe that these are like alien type of ET type of energies, but honestly, in my experience, alien energies don't have any problem in letting themselves known. So I just don't really agree with that. From what I've heard from that realm and from what I understand, they're not really needing to be in the shadow. Again, they don't adhere. That's kind of implying they're like these kind of like cat burglars that have to like sneak into your space. They don't really have to. They can appear and disappear. They are working with energies and vibrations that are much more understanding to them and know how to manipulate them much better than we do. So it's just, again, whenever something kind of sounds like it's bringing it down to kindergarten level, meaning like our world, I would be leery of it. So that is my take on shadow people. And you can feel free to comment and disagree or agree. I have gotten people upset with me for trying to explain that it's not always as horrible as you think, because I don't know why we want it to be. But at the same time, if you're not feeling good, if it's not making you feel good and you just don't like the feeling, get rid of it. Okay? So I hope that was helpful. I hope that made sense. And thank you guys for the support. I've been getting a lot of cool comments and emails, and I appreciate it. Also, I am on a podcast now with a witch friend of mine that you might be interested in. It's called The Witch and the Medium. It's available on Spotify and Breaker and I think Google Play and a lot of podcast places that you can find it. He's a witch and he explains, his take on things, and I'm a medium and I explain my take on things. And we've known each other for some time, and we realized all our conversations and stuff would be fun to create a podcast. So check that out. Follow me on all social media, Adele Levine. Subscribe if you want to know when other posts are coming. I do one once a week, and comment because I love hearing from you guys. I like interaction. I like being interactive with you, and it helps other people to know that they're not alone on this fringe world. Listen to yourself, follow no one, follow that voice inside of you, follow your own instincts and intuition. I'm just here trying to help guide and unlock certain things that you probably have had inside you, or definitely have had inside you all along. So I'll see you guys soon. Thanks.